Welcome to Beefy TV. Today we're going to make a simple sourdough starter. This is Dave. He was born, as you can see, on the 25th of September, a couple of weeks ago. He's doing great and he's been making plenty of bread for us. He is made with wholemeal spelt. With Dave you can use any flour you want. I'm going to make another starter today with a different flour. So this is Dave. Right, I'll show you. Gives you that lovely sourdough air bubbles and all that as well. Lovely crust. Toasted, and this is for the birds because it's a couple of days old. So that's the good thing about nice fresh bread, is it doesn't have a long shelf life because there's nothing in it other than flour, water, salt. So the starter, I'm going to use strong white flour this time. You don't need to weigh the things out, but I've found 300 videos I've watched on this, and people do it by eye, and people do it by weight. Once you get the starter going, it's resilient. You can't really go wrong with it unless you're putting stuff you shouldn't be putting in it, or really like leaving it out and letting all the fruit flies get into it and all. I'm going to weigh the stuff out today for convenience. The sourdough starter is equal amounts of flour, equal amounts of... That's alright. Equal amounts flour, equal amounts water. And the water should be filtered or bottled water. Dave's only ever had bottled water. Don't want to use tap water because there's chlorine, fluoride or whatever we have in our water. What you're doing with a sourdough starter is basically you're capturing the flour over about a week. So it takes a week to make it. Once you do this, honestly, it just tastes lovely and you'll want to do it all the time. So 100 grams of flour. It'll be the first time ever.
That's probably what the vet's doing, the cooper's in right now.
And we'll christen this one today as well. Don't get the 202 now, we'll just keep it even. 204. Equal flour, equal water. It doesn't matter if you go over slightly by a couple of grams or whatever, as long as it's very much equal. That's it. Let's mix this up. So mix that up there. With a sourdough starter, apparently you want to be using either a plastic or a glass bowl, not a metal bowl or anything metal, because metal reacts with it. So I can't tell you what the reaction is, but I just haven't been doing it and I've been making sourdough successfully, so I'm sticking to them rules. That's it all pretty much in. Don't be worrying about using your clean fingers, of course, to scrape in the dough, but that is essentially how you do it. You can cover it with cling film. Don't make it too airtight. You want the air to get into it. Cling film will still allow the air to get in, and what happens now is the wee yeast, the bacteria gets in, eats peas and poos and farts and does all this lovely stuff in there. And the good thing about sourdough is it's good for people who are gluten intolerant. My take on the gluten intolerance epidemic these days is that we're just not eating good quality bread. This is the way yeast was always made. Because the bacteria is partially digested, the flour and the water, it's partially digested for us in our gut. It's actually quite good for our gut to eat, so that's plus. Well,
You want to pick the name?
What?
You want to pick the name?
I don't have a name right.
I have no name.
There you go.
Steve and Dave.
Chaz and Dave.
Right, so we've named this starter, and we're naming it Chaz. So we'll have Chaz and Dave as our sourdough starters. So what we'll do is essentially cover our now newly christened starter, Chaz, with your starter. This isn't it ready to use as a yeast. First, it's about a week. You'll want to some people just leave it for a week and let it ferment and bubble. And what I've done with Dave for the first week was I fed him every day. But what I'm going to show you now is what you do after you've done this part, and you can leave it now for a couple of days, even without feeding them, 2 or 3 days, and then start feeding them. So I'll show you now what it is to feed your starter. This is the bit that confused me. So to feed your sourdough starter, it's equal flour, equal starter, flour and water. That's where I was going wrong. I was just piling on flour and water, and it was still working, but I was getting so much. What I now do to make sure that I'm getting the right amount of everything is, I'll say get a cup, pour in the equal amount of starter. So it's about half the cup there. So feeding your starter, half a small cup. I can't tell you exactly what's in here, but I'm going to use the same cup and go halfway with the flour and water now. So I take the actual starter itself, plonk it in, get it all in there. So this is what you'll do, hey Julie, pretty much every day for the first week in making your starter. I can take a drink first. Dave's water. That's Charlie got his water now. You can use whatever flour you want. You've seen me, I've just used strong white flour to make my new starter now, Chaz. Dave, this is so funny, Chas and Dave. It's important to feed the same flour to your starter. When it's ready to use as a yeast, you can use whatever flour you want to make the bread itself. But with your starter, you want to feed it the same flour each time. So that's a half a cup, let's say, for argument's sake, of starter, and now half a cup of flour. Don't worry about being too neat, because clearly I don't. That's about the same amount there, so same amount of flour as the starter, and again same amount of water. So this is how you'll feed your starter then every 12 hours or so for the first week to keep her fed and happy and bubbly. There we go, that's pretty much your sourdough starter fed. So that's how you feed it. So when you get to the feeding stage, it's equal water, flour and starter. I was doing it wrong and I was just piling it up and up and up and getting loads of starter, and it was just getting too much. You don't want to, if you're going to use a Kilner jar or any sort of mason jar like this, you don't want to close it tight, because basically the gas that forms in this it'll explode. You can put cling film on it if you want, or a tea towel. You just basically want to stop any flies getting in. Fruit flies love this stuff. So just pop the lid down and literally set it over to the side, and you'll see your fed starter. It'll just rise up and get all bubbly, and that'll be him or her, whichever you've christened it, ready to go. When you keep it in the fridge, it slows the process down, and you'll only want to do that really after your starter's ready to go. I know I've said it loads of times, but it is so easy. It's to start your starter, equal amount of flour, equal amount of water. Cover for the first week, and then after a couple of days, after maybe 2-3 days, start feeding it. Bit that you discard, you can either throw it away or make pancakes out of it. It really is that simple. I hope I've covered everything. If not, ask away the questions in the comments below. We'll start baking bread with it in another video. We'll start baking bread with it in another... We'll start breaking bread. Breaking bread? We'll start breaking bread. Oh my word, I can't say that. And what we'll do is we'll
start baking bread with it in another video soon.
That's it.